All right, this is the video that you should be watching in order to do the first assignment in Chapter 2 or Unit 2 for algebra. And the worksheet looks like this. And we're talking about inequalities. We just spent the entire Unit 1 talking about just equations which had equal signs, but inequalities have signs that are a little bit different than an equal sign, that include signs like less than or greater than. So if we were talking about a number less than a number, here we'll be talking about a number greater than a number, or less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. I want to do a couple of the problems at the top of the worksheet maybe with you so that you can kind of get an idea of what we're going to be doing here. And this is what your paper should look like when you set this up. Make sure you put down on the top right hand page that this is assignment number 1 in Unit 2. Make sure your name is up here. And you don't have to have a section for notes. You can just go ahead and start right in with number 1. There's really not a whole lot of work to show for number 1, but I would like for you to write on your paper x is less than 1. I know you've worked with these in the past, but for an assignment like this, I want you to write it down. And then it says in exercises 1 through 6 to match the inequality with its graph. But first I want to show you what this graph would look like. On a number line we have 0, we have 1, and 2, and 3, all the positive numbers towards the right, and then all the negative numbers towards the left, like this. And so we're talking about all the numbers that are less than 1. Well, that would include 0, and -1, and -2, and -3, but it would also include like 0.5. It would not include 1. So we would have an open circle at 1, and then we would shade everything in this direction, because those are the numbers that are less than 1. And so if you look at your paper here, the correct answer, the correct match for number 1 would be letter H, because there's an open circle at number 1, and then everything is pointing to the left. If we take a look at number 2, number 2 looks like this. It's x, and then the symbol is less than or equal to 1. This is the same graph. We have 0, and 1, and 2, and 3, and then we have the negative numbers to the left. It's the same graph as in number 1, except this also includes the number 1. So in other words, when we put a circle around number 1, we're going to fill that circle in, because it includes 1 and it includes anything to the left of 1. And it would look like that. So that matches letter A. So 2 would be letter A. And that's really what we are working on here, at least in numbers 1 through 6, just graphing these. If the sign would have been different, like for example, in number 3, we have x is greater than 2. This does not include the number 2, just the numbers that are greater than 2. So on a number line, we would have an open circle at 2, and we would point everything to the right, because that would include 3 and 4 and 5 and anything greater than 2. I want to do one problem with you down at number 7. We can start down here. And what we're doing here, we have 4n plus 1 is less than 9. So just like numbers 1, 2, and 3, actually 1 through 6, except this time we're going to solve this equation. And we're going to solve this equation the exact same way that we would if we were using an equation or an equal sign. In other words, we want to get this n by itself. So in order to get the n by itself, we're going to start by subtracting 1 from both sides to get rid of adding 1. So then we would just have 4n is less than 9 minus 1 is 8. Then we want to get the n by itself, but we still are multiplying by 4, and we undo multiplying by 4 by dividing by 4. If we divide both sides by 4, then on this side, the left side, we have n. The sign stays the same throughout the whole process, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So then they want you to, it says in the directions in 7 through 18, solve the inequality and then graph the solution. And so when we graph that solution, it's very similar to number 3 above here. Number 3 is n is greater than 2, but this would be n is less than 2. It does not include 2 because there's not the line underneath the inequality, the less than sign isn't there. So it does not include 2. So we're going to have an open circle at 2, and we're going to have everything to the left of that shaded because we want the numbers that are less than 2. The only thing you really have to watch out for when you're doing problems like this is when you multiply and divide by a negative number. But I don't believe on any of the problems that you have for your homework assignment tonight that comes up. And so I'm going to stop right here, and we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing by a negative number when we get to go over this in class. But I'd like for you to finish the worksheet, which is worksheet 9.1 for Thursday of this week. We're going to get our test back on Wednesday, which is tomorrow. And then on Thursday of this week, I would like for you to have this finished. I would not wait till Wednesday night to get it done, though, because on Wednesday night you will also have your test corrections to complete. And so I wanted to go over this on the video so that you guys had time to work on it. And then this should be completely done by the time you come to class on Thursday. So we'll talk more about it at that point. So we'll get our test back tomorrow. Hopefully we did well on that, and we'll see everybody tomorrow in class.